Hello everybody, my name is Monika, and as I said yesterday, I will be making a few videos regarding my being involved with a cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. So today I'd like to start with how I joined the cult. How did it happen? Many people wonder, how do you join a cult? I get that sometimes. No. So, well, the thing is, anyone can. Anyone is susceptible to that. And also, especially when you're having a situation where you're emotionally and vulnerable. Maybe something happened. So in my case, how it started. When I was raised in a Catholic home in Polish. And so we had all the Catholic holidays, birthdays. We were just a regular Polish Catholic family. And so I always had the love for God. Since I was a child, I remember going biking into the fields and just kind of talking to God or just feeling how great He is. And so I had the little inkling of maybe becoming a nun. I don't know. I just loved God when I was a child. That He's this happy being who gave us flowers and this beautiful sun and all that stuff. So when I was in grade 2 and we were heading to the First Communion, we had a really good priest. Our religion education in Poland at that time, that was in the 80s, it was after school. Once a week we would go to church for this 1 hour of religion class. So we had a really nice priest. His name was Anthony, and I really respected him. He was really kind to us. And then in grade 2, I found out there was like a rumor going around that Anthony has a woman that he sleeps with. And that gave me this strangest feeling of betrayal by this man that I thought he's so holy because he's a priest, he's supposed to be in celibacy, he's supposed to be serving God. And all of a sudden I hear he is actually here cheating on God in that case, right? And so I went to the First Communion, but I had in my head the feeling of, well, I don't believe God is in here if He allows men like that to run the church. So ever since then, I had it in my head that God is not in the church. But I felt like I remember praying to God and saying, I'm sorry, but I feel that way and I don't like to go to church anymore. So I don't think I went I went just a few more times. My parents were not like strict going every Sunday. They were just a regular Catholic family. And then things happen, and when I was 14 years old, I ended up moving to Germany, where my mom first immigrated, left and moved, and I joined her there. And I remember someone knocking at a door, and it was an older lady that when I opened the door, and she said, well, is your mom home? I said no. And she says, you speak Polish? I said yes. And then she's like, well, I have these magazines that are about God, and they're in Polish, so we're searching for Polish-speaking people. So I said, well, you can leave it with me, I'll pass it on to my mom. So that's what she did. So she left me those magazines. Some of you might remember it was a series in the late 80s about the harlot. It was like 4 watchtowers with the beast and the harlot on it. So one of them was the one that I got. So I read it, and actually it was like a perfect fit, because there was an article that religion is not approved by God. God is not in Catholic religion. And having that still feelings that I had since grade 2, that God isn't there, I was disappointed in church because of that priest. I thought, yes, I was right all along. God is not in the Catholic Church. So I was reading and reading. There was many Bible scriptures in it. So I thought, wow, I was right all along. And then I called up my friend, and his mom answered. And in Germany, they were just living across the street from us. And she said, I asked for him and he wasn't there, but she says, well, you know what, you can come visit us because we have this lady coming and teaching us the Bible. And I thought, yay, that's what I actually wanted to talk about, the magazines that I got, and the Bible. So I came to their house and they were having a Bible study with the same person that gave me the Watchtower, this older lady, Stephanie was her name. And so that was the time when when I came, they decided to not have the study anymore. They were just in like a second chapter of the Live Forever book. And so after the lady was leaving their house, I was leaving too. So we left together. And I said to her, well, you know what? They don't want to study, but I would love to study. I want the Bible. I want to learn more of what they were learning. And she was so happy. So she gave me the book that they actually gave her back. And she said, well, as for the Bible, you have to give me a call. I have at home a Bible. And if you're very serious, I will give you the Bible. So I did. I called her the next day, I believe. I went to pick her up and then we started studying. So that's how I started studying the Bible. It was in Germany with the Polish older lady. Then she invited me to a meeting. I was 14 at that time. 14, yeah, going on 15. My mom was working. My brother stayed at home with my dad and I was with my mom in Germany. And so I had no friends really, except that one friend. His name was Peter. He was 2 years younger. We both were in a camp, our parents and we were in refugee camps, so we kind of became friends. And yeah, it was just fun. We liked Michael Jackson. He had a rat. His name was Steven. We were just kids living across the street. And so I actually felt like, well, there are people that are friendly, that accept me. I found kind of a new society because I lost everything. If you ever immigrated or moved somewhere, you know how it feels, especially then when you're a teenager. You lose all your connections, everybody. And that's a time where you actually need them the most. You need to grow, you need to explore life, and you just need the support of your peers and others, and I had none. So the witnesses came out right at this right time to recruit me, to make me feel like actually I do belong somewhere. There are people that care about me. And my mom never opposed. She was hard working. She actually said that she just thought it's good for me to maybe study the Bible. So yeah, I have good parents. They allow us to just choose for ourselves. Anyway, so that's how I got involved. Then my brother came to join us in Germany. He was 17 at that time. I was 15. It was a year later. And then I remember he was such a skeptic. He was saying, yeah, what do you do? They're witnesses. They're like aliens. They're promoting some crazy ideas. And anyway, I was so happy that I found God, that I have the Bible finally. I remember the sister was offering me to drive me to the meeting. It wasn't that far, but I said, no, I will walk because I want to show God that I want to give something to Him. I want to put an effort into it for Him. So I would walk to the Kingdom Hall and back. So then we got sponsorship to Canada, and in 1990 we came to Canada. It was another move. It wasn't easy. Immigration is always hard, especially when you move to a country where you just don't know anybody. And so we had just the sponsors who sponsored us. Actually, it was a church, but it was friends from the camp that we were in, the refugee camp, that left earlier, and they went to church to the church sponsor us. So they were the between goers, and they found us apartment. It was at that time Canada was in recession. Actually, I wonder why they even were allowing immigrants to come, accepting them. But because my mom had such a hard time finding a job, and yeah, it was really hard. There was no apartments for rent. We were living with people. There was 5 of us in like one bachelor apartment, which was grateful that we had somewhere to live at some point. But it was really hard times. But going back to the continuation of my witness life, so when we came, the second day of our being there, I took a phone book out from somewhere, I think phone booth, and I did call. I checked Jehovah's Witnesses on the list, the big phone book that we used to have, and I found Jehovah's Witnesses, and there was a branch office, I guess, maybe was it says, I don't remember now, but must have been. So I called the Bethel, and I said that if I could speak with someone who speaks German, because at that time I had just a little bit of knowledge of English, which I was teaching it myself. I always like to do self-teaching. I taught myself German before I went to Germany, and then I was trying to do the same thing with English before coming to Canada. But my German was much better because being 2 years in Germany, and especially at that age when I came as a teenager, at age of 14, I grasped the language quite fast. So they connected me with someone who speaks German. And I said to them, we came from Germany. I started studying in Germany, and I'd like to continue my study. So if I gave the address when we were living at that time, and they said, okay, we will send someone to you. So sure enough, a couple of days later, they sent 2 brothers, young brothers, knock at our door, and I restarted my study. And then we had a little hard situation because my mom couldn't find a job. We were running out of money to pay for the apartment. It was expensive for us. And the brother who was studying with us said, well, maybe there is a sister in the congregation, because he took us to a meeting. It was a Polish group in the English congregation in Toronto. And he took us to get to know some people there. And then one sister said that maybe we could live for a little bit at her bachelor, because she's getting married. She could live with her future in-laws. So anyway, we did that. So they so then we jumped into the witness world with the witness friends. So then we lived in that place. Then they told us to move out. Then the 3 of us moved in with that couple that had a bachelor, another couple, and there was 5 of us. That there was me, my brother, and my mom. And that couple, we lived in the bachelor. They put a bookshelf in the middle, so we could have one side and they could have another side. It was, oh my goodness, I mean, grateful, but we never expected we ever would live like this. We had okay living conditions in Poland, actually. But anyway, so that couple, kind of decided, okay, well, since you live with us, and I was studying already, so they actually got my mom and my brother studying too. Now we're living with them, we are with them, and then we have to kind of abide by their rules. So my mom and my brother, they also had agreed to the Bible study. And so then later on, we were searching so eagerly to get our own place, and we finally found a basement apartment. Finally we were by ourselves. It was 2 rooms and a kitchen and a bathroom, and so we lived there. Conditions were not the greatest, because my brother, I remember him in the morning screaming, Mom, there's mushrooms. We're like, he's dreaming or something. He's like, no, there's mushrooms around my mattress. And then we come into his room, and sure enough, there's by the mattress there are mushrooms growing. Like, it was so much dampness and mold in that basement, that the mushrooms were growing overnight around his so we lived there for 6 months. And all along all three of us were studying. In the meantime, at some point, living in that basement, my mom had a car accident, quite terrible. I mean, we were walking from a bus, me and her. We were crossing a street, and a car making left turn did not see us. We were crossing on a green light, and he hit us. He hit us so hard that my mom ended up in the hospital with having to have stitches done to her skull, her head, and I had my ankle and my back a little twisted. And so, but yeah. So then she just started working. She just found the job. Actually, she didn't find the job. She went for the job interview with another few people, and they gave the job to one sister who was with her. And the sister said to them, actually, I will give that position to my friend who's with me because she has children and I am just with my husband. So she gave my mom the job that she got, and my mom just started working there for a week. I was actually going after school to help her because she still, the language, we all were struggling to help her. I was in cafeteria selling fries and all that stuff, and she was happy she finally got a job. And then she has this car accident and she can't work. She has to lie down. We were just like, we wouldn't know if she will maybe go into coma or something like. And then my brother had to quit school and go to work for us, and it was really it was tough. But all along we were going to meetings. I was going in service, like Saturday, going in service because I loved God and I thought this is the way you serve Him, right? And we met actually quite nice and friendly older witnesses in that first congregation that we were in, the English congregation. From the Polish group, we moved to English congregation that were around where we lived. It was amazing people. Brother Amos, Sister Var, they were loving, the most loving people. I think if it wasn't for them, my mom would have never, I think, joined completely. They were just took us with their love, and they were sincere. The old generation, sincerely, like awesome people. And so in 1991, then things move along. My mom recovered. In 1991, I got baptized, and my brother and my mom the same year, but a couple of months after me. I didn't want to be baptized on a big convention, and I wanted to be at the small assembly, so I got baptized at the assembly in June, and they got baptized at the upcoming convention in, I think, July. Yeah, so that was us. Then I was in high school, my brother too. Then after the high school, I joined the pioneer ranks. I just wanted to be happy, surrounded with good friends, so I became a pioneer. Also, I signed up for like a private college, for like 6 months college, to become a dental assistant, which I don't know why I even did that. I can't stand blood. It was just, I know why I did it, because it said that there's a market for that. You can find a job after this. So though in my mind was, okay, whatever will give me part-time jobs, I can continue pioneering, because that's my life career, right? And I'll do it till the end comes. So that's why I did. Me and another friend of mine, we went to the college, the private college, for dental assisting. Yay. So yeah, then after that, I was already pioneering, because I started right after high school. And then I decided, well, you know what, I was never in Poland a witness. I like to go back home to Poland and meet all the witnesses that I never knew that are in my area where I live. In the meantime, just to backtrack, my father, we wrote him that we're becoming witnesses, and he wasn't happy with this in Poland. He wrote us a letter that, what are you doing? This is a harmful cult. He sent us 3 books, I remember, written by ex-witnesses. But of course, at that time, you know how is viewed, it's Satan. And actually that even makes you want to do it more, because it kind of, they just teach that you'll be persecuted, and Satan will want you not to join God's people, and he will persecute you, and that even shows more that this is God's people. So that actually worked at us. So when we got that, we thought, yes, Satan knows we're joining the religion, the God's people. So I wish we read the books then, but oh well. We did later, but so I, after I finished the college, I started working, but then I decided I want to go to Poland, meet my witnesses that I've never met. Maybe some of my school friends are, like, who knows. So I also wrote a letter to Bethel that I like to go to Pioneer School in Poland, because it's possible. We can go. We were like worldwide organization, no boundaries, right? So, and they were nice. They responded that yes, and they assigned me to, actually in my city, that whenever was happening was in September. It was a Pioneer School. And so I went to Poland for 6 months. I went to Pioneer School. I had a great time. I went to unassigned territory. But at that time, Poland was quite a different place from Canada. Yeah, I was pioneering here. Actually, at that time, you already moved from English to Polish congregation, because it just started. And I thought, okay, there was an announcement at the English meeting that there's a Polish congregation. So we should go, we should join, we should just help Polish people. So we did. My mom was reluctant. She really liked the English congregation. And later on, I found out, yeah, she was right, maybe we should have stayed. But anyway, I really wanted to go. And so we all went to the Polish congregation. And I felt useful. I felt like I can help. Like, there were so many immigrants coming to Canada from Poland, and I had so many studies, and I was so happy. I could be of help. I could have parts, and I would even do some interpreting at the conventions. I was happy. I was doing everything for God, and just being me, helping people, and using my talents as my. So when I was in Poland, I had a little bit of crash of, I don't know what to call it, not culture, but maybe witness culture. At that time, seems like the light wasn't as bright there as far as, like, dress and grooming, music, behavior. So I was the same there as I was here in Canada, and apparently I was not good. That was not good, because I was wearing jeans. That was year 94. I was wearing jeans, which you're not allowed to as a woman. I was wearing shorts. That's not allowed. Too much leg showing. Then I suggested in service to young people. There were so many young people my age in the congregation. I was so happy. So we were going in service, of course, because that's what you do, right? That's your entertainment. But we had fun. It was great. And I suggested one time, when we were passing by like a information board, I said, hey, there is announcements. There's like a little flyer put in on the information board that there's dance lessons. Why don't we take like a bunch of us? There's so many of us young people. Let's go and have dance classes. How fun would that be? And the reaction of the person that was swimming was like, it was like mortified. It's like, Monika, never ever mention that. You will be reproved for even thinking that. Never even suggest that. I said, what the heck? What's wrong with you? I said, no, young people and dancing, that's unacceptable here. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's wrong with this place? that's not the end. Then being in Canada so far, we came in 1990 to Canada. Now it's 94. I was a fairly young person at that time. I was 20. So, but the 4 prior years, I was in English-speaking society. So, of course, I had some of my language got a little bit just like I was always trying to speak, like not give any intentional impressions that I am from somewhere else. Then, let's say from Poland when I'm in Poland. I'm not I'm trying to do the Polish as it is because I don't like to draw attention to me or undue because there's a different way of looking at someone who is a foreigner. It's like a better treatment of them. That's just how it is. That's the culture. So I was trying because I'm like, I'm not any better than Anna from any village in Poland than me from Canada. So I was always trying to just be, on a plain level that no one will suspect I am from another country, like that I live somewhere else. So, but there's occasional okay, and also they in the congregation, they knew I came from Canada, right? That I lived there and now I came here for that 6 months for that pioneer school for meeting witnesses in there. And I was always a happy person, and I tried to make others happy, laugh. I always try to put a little something, a little joke in my talks, so everyone just had enjoyment and maybe a little laugh at my parts, and I had a little presentation. Well, long behold, there is a local needs. There's a local needs entitled Bad Influences from the Far West. When I heard that, I almost died and cried from laughing at the same time. It was like a mixed feeling and emotion that I've never remembered before or after. And I was listening and I'm thinking, are you kidding me? So they were saying, well, we had a influence from the West. We have people starting to say, okay. We have our language. We shouldn't distort it with such a Western influences. We have people laughing too loud. We have people being too joyful. This is a serious matter, serving God. I could not believe, and I'm thinking, are you really talking about me? There's no one else. So that was unbelievable. Me pioneering at that time, thinking that I'm like this purest thing, because that's all I want to do is serve God and help people and make brothers and sisters happy. Here you have a local news about me because I'm too happy. I laugh too loud. I am just using some English words, which rightfully so, because I've lived in an English-speaking country for 4 years. So I was like, oh my goodness, okay, great. So that was my experience meeting witnesses in the eastern side of the world. Things have changed so far because I've been there many times after that. So the light is coming, later to that part of world. So I've made lots of friends there, and So then I came home, and then there was unhappy events that have followed. My brother moved to Vancouver in fall of '95, and we got a police coming to our door in December telling us that he died in a car accident. So that was the second hardest, or that was the hardest experience of my life. My only brother, and when you immigrate, you're so much closer with your immediate family members, because that's all you have. I just have my mom, I had my brother, and then he died in a car accident, and that was it. Life changed forever from that moment, and it was really hard. I continued pioneering because That's what they say. You don't have faith. Why are you still crying and all that stuff? And I thought, just being busy would be good too. In the meantime, I got invited to Bethel in Canada. I applied to be day worker, and I started going there once a week, Wednesdays. It was fun. It was really fun. I worked in Food Pro, and I was going with this older brother. I was meeting him on one of the subway stations, and because I live in Toronto and Georgetown, that's like 45-minute drive to Bethel, and he was picking me up. He was like a grandpa. We had fun. He was also in Food Pro, and he was kind of feeling like at home. He was making us fries, like things that out of the norm, of course, So and I met friends. I was happy because I felt like, okay, anything I do for Jehovah, it's great. So that was always my thing. Like most of us, right? Like we wanted to serve God, so we joined the cult because we thought he's there, most of us. And I had a great time. So then came time for conventions, international convention, I think it was 98. And Canadian Bethel asked me to be one of the tour guides for Polish delegates, because there were some Polish delegates coming for that. And there was so we had a little training, because there was different language tour guides that were asked to do the tour of Bethel. And I was so happy. I was so happy because I liked being on a display. When I was a child, I liked performing, so I was winning contests of some recitings, and so my idea was, maybe one day I'll be like a stage actor. A stage or being in front of people gives me energy, and I love it. I love to entertain people. So I always loved having parts. I would take last minute parts, and I just liked it. I just enjoy it. And so being a tour guide, asked to be a tour guide, that was like, man, I love it. And Bethel I love, because it's a God's house, and I have lots of friends by that time then. So I really enjoyed. So we had a training, and then the time came for the delegates to come and the tours. It was amazing time. I loved it. So every day for, I think it was like before the convention couple days, and then after convention couple days that the tours were happening. So I've met some people from the tours, and some of them, and I didn't know, because to me every human is the same, whether it's a grandma, whether it's a committee member, whether it's anointed or a publisher, or a worldly person, as we used to call them. I always felt the same value of a person. It doesn't matter. To me, it was a human who deserves respect. So then that's how I treated. I didn't know even who is on the tour, whether there are some high brothers with some high responsibilities or not, or just like. So anyway, we had fun. I tried to really make it fun for them. And then after the touring Bethel, some of the groups would ask me if I want to join them and tour the city, show them around. So I did that. For me, actually would be great, because they would take me to Toronto with their bus. So, and then one of the groups was quite memorable. It was full with a middle-aged and older ones, and it was lovely people. And we had really, really good time, like all of them were. But this one, they said to me, well, we want to thank you, so we want to take you for supper with us. And I'm like, oh, that's so kind. So we did go. There was a little emergency that the sisters have. I think one, I don't know, something happened with her nylons or something. So then she's like, oh, can you help me? And then we ran to a Shoppers Drug Mart, and I bought her some nylons. And anyway, I was just so happy to just be helpful. And then one of the older brothers, he said to me, hey Monika, so have you ever been in Bethel in Poland? And I said, no, actually I haven't. He said, well, if you ever are going to Poland. I said, well, funny you say, because I'm going in a month to see my dad, and I'm staying for a few months. And so he said, oh, so then come give me a call, and because I live in Bethel, and I will, invite you to stay for a couple of days. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So he gave me his number and his name, and so when I came to Poland next month, I called up that number, and then he said, okay, so when can you come? And so I told him my dates, and then I came to Bethel. Ends up that I was the Bethel coordinator. I had no idea, because as I said, to me it doesn't matter, and I never cared for titles. Maybe that's why I I was called like Jezebel, because I always speak up my mind. And so when I came to Bethel for that visit, a couple days, I really liked it. It was very nice. I already was day working in Canadian Bethel for the past 3 years or so. So I thought, okay, now I'll see this Bethel. It's smaller. It's and it's my culture. So it's also a different vibe. It was lots of young people my age, and so actually by the end of the second day of my visit, this coordinator who invited me, he asked me to come see him in his office. So I went to see him in his office, and he said to me, so we really want to ask you if you would like to work with us. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, maybe you want to stay for like a temp work for 3 months, because you already work in Bethel in Canada and you're pioneering. And I said, I would love that. So I did. He said, okay, so just go to your home congregation and where your dad is, where you are, and just tell them to, you have to fill out the application, but you're already approved. We just need this paperwork to be done. So that's what I did. And I ended up being in Polish Bethel for 3 months or 4 months. I don't remember now. It's been a while. And I had a blast. I had such a great time. Because it was like being in college dorm. It was just so fun. We had so many cool, awesome people. We had fun. We were going biking trips. We were having fun in kitchen. And I lived there was 4 of us girls living in one room. Yeah, because they packed us up in together. And and then we had evenings where boys were coming with their guitars, playing and all. And then later on we hear about it, how we were unruly, we were young people, are being too loud, like all that stuff. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. So after that 3 months, and I made some great friends there too. So after that 3 months, they asked me if I like to join the building family, whatever it is, I don't remember what it's called now, but the building team that were building at that time, assembly hall in Łódź. So I said, yeah, for sure. I do anything for Jehovah, So I did, and it was fun there too. It was a different vibe because it's a construction. We were sleeping at the construction site. There were rooms, and it was fun. Yeah, so I enjoyed that. And after that, I went to unassigned territory, and that was also great. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time. It was good. Yeah, then I came back to Canada, and I continue pioneering. And then I think my grief and depression kind of hit me. So it was 2000 when I stopped pioneering, because I just couldn't. Somehow I just could not continue on that pace, and I need a little bit break. But I must say, and maybe some of you who also had to stop the pioneering, which we thought would last for until the end, that it was so hard to stop. It just felt like, who am I now that I am not pioneering? That's how I felt. I'm like, who am I? I'm just a human now, like somehow it just defines you, who you are and your worth and all that stuff. Like, you pioneering, you are someone, you are pioneering. And so that was it. Oh, sorry, something's wrong with my Okay, good. And that. I had to stop pioneering, and I was working. It was hard to find a job too, but I did. I did dental assisting, and then I joined this corporate world. It was a company that lots of witnesses from the congregation that I went to when I came that were working in, and it was a good part-time job. It was a payroll company, well known in the States and in Canada, and so I applied many times, but eventually I was hired for a part-time position. I found roommates. I was living with a couple girls. We had a good time living together. Yeah, well, culture is. I thought it was a culture, but then I don't know what that was. You know, sometimes I would be like laughed at because I was, you know, like. I was ready to like go in a blizzard if I had return visit, and I promised them to come, and I said I'll come, and they were like, oh, you said, where are you going? You know, and I'm like, I promised these people, and like I have to, like, it's like I found like when I was doing something, like to me I would do anything, right, like for God and just to help people, and I was kind of judged and looked down because I'm like, what? And I didn't like people talking about other people, judging them, like, so the hypocrisy I couldn't stand. Like at home the girls were talking about others. Oh, I hate her, she got engaged. It's like, what the heck? Like, be happy for her, your turn will come, goodness. Like, and then at the kingdom house, like, oh, so happy, and they were viewed as like, oh, this exemplary. Meantime, like, I remember feeling like I'm a little bit of like different because I actually was sticking up for the like non-essential people. I would like be so, because anyway. And I remember that like they were complaining at home that, oh, this article for studying has so many scriptures and we have to read. I said to them, if you don't want to, don't read the scriptures. I read the scriptures if I want to, and I like to read them scriptures. Why are you doing something you don't like to do? And I got like, oh, how can you say that? So anyway, like I just can't stand guilt and doing things by guilt driven. And also, like, if you complain, well, then obviously you don't like doing this. Stop it, So anyway, so that was kind of, it wasn't, I wasn't popular because of that. Yeah, I wasn't popular. I was like, yeah. So that's the story of me joining a cult and part of my being in it. And I guess now you want to know why I left. Things were adding up. I must say it was not a doctrinal reason for me, because for me more important, I guess, was the doing everything for God, the love, maybe the feeling, I don't know, but and then at some point, because I had my little, let's say, okay, I always thought in a Revelation book, we all remember Revelation book when we studied it, the dates that were of different assemblies and conventions, which apparently some of the prophecies, blah, 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 corresponded to them. To me, it always sounded like, what the heck? But kind of like, okay, what do I know, right? What do I know? Maybe they're right. They have God's spirit, blah, blah, blah. And so little things like that, they were always somewhere there. I kind of never liked that we actually lie to people and tell them that we don't want to change their religion. We do want to change their religion. So I remember at some point I stopped saying that because I thought I can't lie to people. So I would just say, well, we just want to encourage you to read the Bible. And that was my thing. And I would never push people into like, oh, my religion, this, you should join, like, yours wrong. Because somehow in my head, there was always this like basic human right to be entitled to your own convictions. And I thought, why am I trying to convince them if they're happy with it? Like, but I will encourage them to read the Bible. So I would kind of do that. And I felt good with that. Yeah, that God loves you and all that stuff. But what my dad is not a witness, never was, never will be, never became. And so when I would go, because I would go every year, almost if I could, every year to Poland. At that time, I would spend, let's say, 2 weeks in Bethel, because every year I would go to Polish Bethel. Aside from working here and pioneering and doing all this, I would just find like I wanted to do this. So in Poland, I would cut my vacation, spend let's say 3 weeks with my dad and 2 weeks in Bethel working. Because okay, let's face it, I wanted to see my friends. We had fun, and also I wanted to do something for God while I'm there, and so it was great. And so when I would go to my dad. I sometimes would hear from people, "Oh, you're spending too much time with your father. He's not a witness." I said, "Well, so what? He's a good man." He would actually come with me to meetings sometimes because he would want to see what it's all about, And then he's a very open-minded, intelligent person. And I remember one time, one sister who's like, she feels like she's the queen of the congregation. She actually runs the congregation, not her husband. She says, "Well, you should tell your dad to cut his beard." And I said, "Why?" "Well, because, he should not have a beard." I said, "No, I tell him to keep it." I was just like, oh, I would say anything rebellious. Like, I said, "No, I tell him to keep it because I like it that way. I like how he looks with it." Like, oh. So anyway, like those things. And then when he got sick, maybe 5 years ago, he had a surgery. So I took a couple months from work off, and I went to him to stay with him and help him. I got phone calls in Poland from the congregation there, and they were saying, "Oh, did you leave the truth? Are you now not in it?" And at that time, I was like, pioneering, going to Bethel, like going everything, and trying to do the right thing. Like, isn't your family like first? Like, didn't Jesus say that, nothing is worth your effort if you don't take care and provide of your family? Come on. So I'm doing what I think I should do, and God loves this, right? Meantime, I'm getting all these phone calls saying, like, how can I miss the meetings? Like, my father's worldly, he'll die, it's not important, why am I speaking so? That hurt me so much, so much. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with you people? I'm doing just the right Christian thing, the human thing that any child should do, like any human would do. And then here, where it's supposed to be even more care and love and encouragement, you just tell me to discard my father because he's not believing the things you do. Who cares what he believes? He's a good man. He's my father. I love him. I will always do. So that I put a little sting in here, and kind of a question, like, what is going on here? Then when I came back from that, then the metro witnessing somehow started, the standing by the posts, So you need such a qualifications for that. So, I was at that time pioneering, doing construction work at one of the congregations, Kingdom Halls, going to Bethel whenever I could, having a group at my place. I was living on my own, pioneering, working part-time, having group at my place on Wednesdays, doing construction on the weekend, going to Bethel whenever I could in a week. And so I applied. I put application for the metro witnessing, because, it was for full-time publishers. And so I get a phone call from the elders, and they say, "Oh, we want to meet you because you put the application for the metro witnessing." And so I said, okay. I thought maybe they'll come and, I don't know, commend me for once for something I do right. And, how wrong was I? And so they come and sit, and one of them, a service overseer, he says this. He says, well, so we got your application for the Metro witnessing. Didn't you read that it says on it only exemplary publishers can apply, or exemplary pioneers? And I was like, I was speechless. I felt like, I don't know, like someone just shot me. I can't say, I can think of nothing, because it's like, what are you actually trying to say? And I said, what am I supposed to do? Like, what is it that I don't do? What is it I do that like? And they said, well, we'll review it in 6 months. It's only for a few specials, not for everybody. And I'm like, oh my goodness. This hurt me so much. I was thinking, what else can I do? Like, if I was a man, I probably would have been like a branch committee member, or even more, you know, like I would have. I know like here as a woman, what else can I do? And like pioneering vessel construction, having groups, doing parts. I was always on last minute call for talks. Like, what else do you want me to be an example? Like, what the hell? And I thought, this is not right. Like, I always thought, you know, when I pioneer, maybe my family will prosper because God will give them blessings, because, you know, that's what they say. Here, I don't even get this stupid privilege of standing by this post, like a post, for goodness sakes. So the next weekend, I was at the construction site, and I was so down, because this hurt me to the bone. And there was a PO from my hall, and he was like, oh, what's wrong, Monika? Like, you're not yourself. I said, oh, it's okay. He's like, no, you can tell me if something bothers you. I said, really? You want to really hear? Okay, if you want, I'll tell you. I said, I just had the visit, and I was told I'm not exemplary pioneer. Like, what is this anyway, exemplary? When you're pioneering, you're already an example to, like, and what is it, because I don't have a father who's famous, grandfather who was like judges or Rutherford's like son or something, or I don't have a husband, I don't have someone who can stick up for me? That's why? Like, is that their only reason? Because that's how I see it. Because I know other girls got the same phone, the same call from elders, and they were actually told them straight blank, because you're not married. Can you believe that? Like, because what? Because single girls can't be trusted? Because what? We'll have like sex on the middle of the street with some stranger? Like, are you nuts? So he was like, okay, you know, that was not right, what he said to you. I said, that was right, that was not right. Like, and then so at the next meeting, that elder who said this to me, he came and he apologized. But I'm like, you know what, like, that's fine, but that's just, you know, I know you meant what you said. So anyway, I'll take your apologies. But so, you know, those things were kind of coming at me, and then, yeah, I talked to, then I had a friend, maybe, yeah, a friend who kind of was questioning things, and we kind of got together, and yeah, I kind of said my, you know, what was bothering me, and we were talking, and he's like, well, hey, you should read this book. So he said, you know, so I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. So then I downloaded Ray Francis' book, Crisis of Conscience, and oh my goodness, downloading that book was just like, I don't know, it was as stressful as robbing a bank. The stress of being caught somehow, like of doing some sin, unthinkable sin. I was sweating. I was sick already at that time, because I had like a flu or being sick, and I already called in sick work, so I had that week off. But it was, and then on top of that, started reading this book, which made me emotionally, physically sick. I was throwing up. Like, it was just so intense. It was just like a world collapsing, like all of a sudden. And I'm thinking, oh no, Satan's sucking out the life out of me, the truth out of me. Like, it's just the strangest feeling ever I felt. But I read the whole thing. And like day and night, I wasn't sleeping, I was reading. And then I started watching Royal Commission and the whole thing. And then I decided, oh no, like I'm losing my bubble of happiness, I'm losing it. I need to do something. So I actually, at that time I was I think auxiliary pioneering only. I don't remember anymore. I was at that time already. I was in a Polish group, English congregation Polish group. And because I moved then to Russian from that English, because it was micromanagement. After that, being non-exemplary pioneer, I decided I need to move this hall. I need to go somewhere where there's like more freedom. So then it was Russian hall for a couple of years, and then it was too long of a commute, because it was 2 hours commute. But I enjoyed the whole freedom of being in a Russian hall. And then there was a Polish group starting, or congregation was dissolved in Toronto. And then the group was left, so I decided, I'll visit the group. And then I stayed in a group. I moved into that group because it was closer to home, and I felt like and then I would translate the talks, which I enjoyed. Now I'm doing college for that, so I'll be an interpreter and need 2 more courses. So I was interpreting. So at that time I was doing all that, interpreting, being in a congregation that kind of appreciated me for my past achievements. I must say that, because there were some ex-Bethelites who knew me, that I was in Bethel in Canada, they working for years. And so I was invited to pioneer meetings, even though I wasn't pioneering at that time, but just based on my being such a faithful sister and such a a long time example. So that I enjoyed that. No, it was really good congregation. I appreciate it and all, so on. But then I put my application for auxiliary, I think, regular auxiliary pioneering. Or maybe regular, I don't remember anymore. But after reading the book, I thought, oh no, I need to rebuild my faith. I need to rebuild that. Maybe this is not the truth, like what I read. And then I applied to Bethel to be a temp worker, because there was a call for temp workers again. And funny enough, I got accepted for everything. So I got accepted to be Bethel temporary worker, and I got accepted. I think I was auxiliary, regular auxiliary, or something like that. I need anything to do with pioneering, yes. And then I was interpreting talks, doing all that stuff. So I thought that will help me to kind of erase what I just read and get back into bring back my spirituality. But it just can't. Once, like, you cannot know what you know, right? When I was then started listening to some John Cedar's channel, Kim and Mikey. I found them funny and good, and the Fifth and others, and funny, because I was working with witnesses also at that big company at that time still. So that was 17 years of my life in that company, surrounded with witnesses. So I was having witnesses beside me, and I'm here listening on my phone to John Cedar's channel, like, like doing the ultimate evil thing. And then I know I was like at that time already searching to change a job, so I was applying to different jobs, and I also applied to Army position as an accountant. And so all of a sudden I'm sitting here surrounded by witnesses, and I get a phone call from the Army recruiter. So it's like, hello, is this Monika? It's like, yeah, it is. This is Canadian Army our armed forces calling you because you applied. I'm like, okay, give me one moment. I'll talk to you in a few minutes. So I have to leave my desk to go to the to go to the sick room, so no one can hear me that I am talking to an Army recruiter. Like, come on, the ultimate evil too. So yeah, and it was very stressful. It was very stressful, be surrounded by witnesses, the whole air of them, and me listening to this. And yeah, so where was I before that? Okay, so I was invited to Bethel to be a like day commuter. I was doing interpreting at the Polish meetings, and here I was inviting to all the like pioneer meetings, even though I was, I think, auxiliary, or even I don't know, but anyway, they were just appreciating my faithfulness and stuff, having parts and all that stuff. And here I was waking up. I was like, I would say 80% awake. Yeah, and it was quite stressful. Like, meetings are not the same once you know what you know. And I remember the hardest part was actually, well, hardest, one of them, was when I had to interpret at one of the Sundays talks. And it was about the year 1914. But at that time, I already started college, because what I did, I decided, okay, I will slowly stop going to meetings, but I wanted to have a reason why I'm not, let's say, not going. So I signed up for college, evening classes, language interpreting, and it was Tuesdays and Thursdays. So perfect, because it was the days we had meetings. It was Thursdays we had meetings. And so I was going to the classes and going to meetings on Sunday. And so I was supposed to interpret that talk, like I was doing the talk of circuit overseer and all, like everything. I love doing it. I really enjoyed translating, interpreting. But that talk in particular, I remember, it was, about 1914, the whole like collapse of was the dream of Daniel. And yeah, and so here I'm like, have to interpret that, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm feeding these people a lie and I'm part of it. But at that time I thought to myself, wait a second, well, when we had the ethics, like in college, the first classes was like ethics of being an interpreter. So you have to interpret anything. You kind of like a Sith. You don't you are neutral. So you have to interpret whatever is being said. You have no opinion of your own, because you're just interpreting. So at that time I thought, okay, well, this is a lesson for me. This is like practical lesson of being interpreter, interpreting what I don't agree with. Just got to do my job, like sometimes you got to do swearings, you got to do this, you got to say what you don't like. So that I was treating my interpreting as practice sessions for my classes. So that was kind of that was it. That's how I viewed it. And also, okay, so being already like in that state of awakening, I decided, okay, let's take advantage of the Bethel invite. So I got in, I had the pass. I kept it, I guess, for memory's sake or something, I don't know, to just prove that I was in this cult. So I went twice. I could go to all the special talks that were for Bethelites. I could come for the morning worships. I could come for the lectures. That's what I was allowed to do when I was accepted as the day commuter. So I went twice to work at Bethel, and it's such a different experience when you like awake and go to Bethel. It's just such a different experience. I saw these oppressed women, to be honest. I had my share of experiences of being a single woman who's trying to have a voice. But I saw these married women who they feel like they are deprived of being like a bird who has his wings in like this, like in some kind of a rubber band, and he can't fly. You have to pretend that you just can walk and you can't fly, because the bird beside you has wings that are smaller than yours, and you would be like overshadowing with him. So you have to pretend you're like, oh my goodness. And then they become bitter, and then you can see this like sadness and bitterness about them. Like, I feel sorry for them. But that's how it is, this misogynistic religion, or organization. It's not a religion. And so I remember that second time I went. So I was in the construction crew for renovation of the branch, and so we had our 10 o'clock morning coffee. Then there's lunch. Then there's like 3 o'clock morning coffee break. So for the morning coffee, it was this like room set up for us, where usually it's like entertainment room when in a normal times of using of the facilities. And then you can go outside through the door, kind of like a fire escape door, but it's like regular door. And it's like a beautiful, because Canadian Bethel, it's like out in the country and it has a beautiful forest around it. So when we had our coffee in the morning, then we went outside, sit outside, because it was nice and sunny and just be in that forest. So when I came for the afternoon break, I came a little early. I finished my work a little early. And so I come to that room, and there is one older sister sitting somewhere in a corner. And I go in, I get my coffee, put a coffee in my mug, and I just heading to the door, and I want to push the door open, right? Like it says, open only emergencies, but come on, we've been going out already there. It's just the door. And so I want to open and go outside. And she's like, oh, you can't open this door. And I say, why can't I open this door? And she says, well, it's the only brother can open this door, because you see what it says. It's only emergency, so you have to wait for a brother to allow you to open the door. And I said, I don't have to wait for a brother. I can open the door. We went there outside this morning. And she's like, oh, you have rebellious spirit. And I said, no, I have a brain. And I opened the door and I went with my coffee, and I'm like, I can't take this any longer. Oh my goodness. And then on lunchtime, I remember at lunchtime, before I remember this, or it was maybe supper, around me, people saying things like, oh, it's so great, it's so wonderful and generous of the Bethel and Jehovah to give us this food. And I'm thinking, I can't believe, what are you saying? It's like, damn straight, they're supposed to feed us. They didn't pay us. Might as well give us food for our work. I lost a day of work. There's no money from this. So just feed me. I'm not thanking for this. But all this, and I'm thinking, I was the same. Oh my goodness. But maybe not to that extent, but it's like, this is backwards. Like, that's so backwards. And yeah, so that was my last time doing that. And then was my last convention, 2017. I didn't want to go, but I thought, okay, my mom came and she wants to go. And well, funny enough, turns out my mom was already kind of like, oh, I can't stand this, but she was doing it like for me, and I was doing it for her, and we never kind of talked about it, So at the convention, I dressed in black, because to me, I knew this is my last convention. Let's mourn. This is kind of like a kind of going to funeral of the religion, of my life, of everything, like this is it. This is the last convention, and it was so hard to sit. Oh my goodness. And what's his name? I forgot. He was the visiting member of the governing body. Anyway, he was making jokes, and I was like, everyone's laughing, and I'm thinking, why are you guys laughing? He's making fun of you. Like, it's like, I can't, it's just totally different way of hearing things, looking at things while you awake. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't stand this. Like, it was the hardest 3 days of my life. And after the convention, I said, I'm not going to anymore. This is it. I'm done. Like, I knew it's done before the convention started. So my mom's like, oh my goodness, really? Because I've been struggling to go, and I was doing it for you because I wanted to support you. I'm like, oh my goodness, mother, why didn't you tell me before? So anyway, ends up that we both are on the same page. So then we stopped going in September. It was my last meeting. September or no, October, something like that. Maybe October. Yeah, and I never went back. Just closed my door behind me and never went back. And that's my story for now. So next time I will talk about my struggles after leaving, Also, I didn't say much about how emotionally struggling or taxing it was when I was waking up when I read the book. I actually went on a sick leave. I not quit my job, I left my work. I think I had a mental breakdown a bit. So anyway, that's for next time. But I just know, on a positive side, on a positive note, life is good. And behind you see my artwork. I've been painting and some plans for my life, making them as I go. So thanks for your attention, and I hope you all have a great Sunday.